Hi guys, and welcome back to the Citadel with me, Daniel M. This week I'm bringing you the third round of Swiss of our last tour tournament. On the left we've got Darren Heseltine playing Martel Crossing against Dan Gallagher on the right playing Stark Fealty. If you're a member of the AGROT group on Facebook, you'll recognise Darren, posts there quite a lot, very active. And you should recognise Dan Gallagher on the right. He's from Stoke, and they come down to most of our tournaments. He's been on camera a fair bit, travelled down with Mike today. So this is an interesting matchup. Darren took this Martel Crossing to the Reading Regional recently, and Dan has got the Stark Fealty deck, which, if I remember correctly, is slightly different to the popular build going around at the minute, but we'll see that as the game progresses. Darren just teasing Dan, doing a bit of smack talk at the beginning, saying that his deck is nothing but wildlings, but we'll see that it's something a little bit different as we go through this match. Got a setup. Both look like they've got quite nice setups. 4 cards each potentially. Ooh. Dan got 3 characters and Rose Road. Darren got a Boneway, a in-house reducing location, the Knights of the Sun, and the Greenblood Trader. Obviously, the Greenblood Trader not the first thing you want to play on setup, because obviously you then nullify that card draw. But if he's running First Snow, might bounce it back to hand, replay later, and obviously gets an extra card now anyway. Dan's board very nice, 3 characters. However, again, Summer, who's not going to get to trigger her ability, and also the issue that his board is very first snowable. Dan Gallagher opening Calm over Westeros, hoping to cement himself. Wondering what he'll call on that. And Darren has actually opened the long plan, so just flipping for initiative. And Dan has chosen for Darren to go first. So quite relatively even board state here. Darren has got the Boneway, which is one of the nice little things he's got in his deck as a way to speed up his Martel even more alongside the Lords of the Crossing trigger. Has adapted it for a bit from the older version, which we saw going around before First Snow came out, which relied quite heavily on small characters. So he's got more of those mid-range characters, but got some interesting tricks in the deck as well. Hopefully we'll get to see them. You can see a Tears of Bliss in his hand straight away, which is very nice. Can you use that King's Road? And spend 2, maybe get Ariane out. Yeah, got Ariane out onto the table, so she's going to be bouncing in and out, getting a lot of efficiency out of her. And Gaston Grey, oh, that's hard to see as a start player, not what you want to see at all. So Dan got his 6 gold there. What is he going to get out? Is that ward we're looking at there? It is. I don't think there's nothing he can do with that, but he's got a King's Road, so that's going to help him with his economy. Going to use it to get Arya out. I wonder if we're going to see that classic Stark play of putting ice out on Arya first turn.
Nor do I have a gold.
I'm
halfway there.
And looks like a Gates of Winterfell, so he's got his draw there, and he's got 3 gold left. What is he going to do with it? Okay, moving through, just debating what he's going to do. Darren looking if he's what he's got in his hand. And he's got that ice out using Fealty to reduce and paying 2. leaving 1 gold left over. So what we might be seeing here is we might see ice, and we might even see it into a winter is coming, the event that increases claim by 1. So that would be something hard to recover from for Darren. Moving to challenges, Darren doing his challenges. Just going to do a power challenge with Ariane. And it's going to be defended and won by Sansa because of the Lords of the Crossing reduction. So Darren obviously loses the challenge but gets his long plan trigger and his boneway trigger.
I don't care, I do a challenge.
Does he get his long plan? Yeah, he's remembered it, good. So obviously losing a challenge, getting a boneway, getting a long plan. So on setup, really nice to have. You can be able to trigger both of those very nicely. I wonder if he's going to bounce that Ariane for something that's going to help him deal with Arya. Just thinking about what he's got in his hand. It looks... yeah, there we go. Sort of saw it there. Jumping in a Nymeria to take that military icon away from Arya. So he's got the control there to be able to stop her getting that ice off. So that's exactly what he needed. He needed to do something about that Arya, because otherwise that challenge was going to be quite painful to deal with. As it is, it means that that 1 gold might still be used for a winter is coming, using the Tumblestone Knight and Summer, but that would mean that this challenge would have to go unopposed, this military challenge by Nymeria. But Dan is going to oppose him.
Okay. You get oh yeah. This is where
So
just forget.
Darren wins the challenge. Move that gold for some reason. He's going to do an intrigue challenge with the Green Blood Trader, which is going to go unopposed. Ooh, and that's why he moved that 1 gold to remind himself to do Tears of Bliss. So that Tears of Bliss, while it's not going to kill Arya, it's going to take away her duplicate, and that duplicate is going to mean that she no longer has the military icon, so he can use that Nymeria more effectively to control the rest of the board. And taking the Winter is Coming out of Dan's hand. So he has quite effectively nullified that first turn Stark threat through some lucky pulls and through some good control pieces there on his part. If the Stark player had gone first, he probably would have had to bounce Nymeria in before he'd got a chance to use Ariane, so he might not have got his 3 challenges off, so going first there kind of helped him. However, the Stark player does now have a power that he can steal from him. Going to lose a power challenge, going to get his gold from the long plan, and going to get play a Viper's Eyes. So Darren just saying that he doesn't think he's particularly worried about Ward, but what he is going to do is get rid of Fat Cat, and this is the difference in this deck, in Dan's deck. He's playing a kind of not a completely Stark sacrifice deck, but he's got Fat Cat instead of Corset Cat, so the sacrifice tricks such as Jon Snow and Grey Wind and things through standing through Rob are going to gain him power that way. So rather than the challenge style deck, it is he's still running Winterfell, but he's running Fat Cat as well. So the dupe saves Arya, and Dan is probably going to be hoping he draws into a duplicate of her somehow. And they're tied for Dom. So Darren not only managing to come out of that round with a power, but managing to really survive that wave of of potential aggression there and control it quite effectively. If he hadn't done that, this game would have swung in Dan's favour quite significantly. So I don't think there are any misplays there by Dan. I just think he got quite unfortunate. Darren playing Heads on Spikes. We saw his Dan's hand earlier. We know there aren't too many characters in there. Maybe there's just a card he wants to get rid of. I remember Darren pretty consistently playing Heads on Spikes second. Just debating what he's going to do.
You're first. Would you like my pot to go first? Or? You're first, so I'll decide.
And Darren has chosen for Dan to go first, so he wants to go second. Darren quite accurately forcing that Heads on Spikes to trigger first, because with the building orders he's probably going to go looking for Winterfell. What he doesn't want to happen is to put Winterfell back into his hand and then have it taken. Obviously it still wouldn't give Darren the 2 power, but what it would do is it would nullify Dan's plot. Not seeing Winterfell, however, he does see a milk. So that milk is going to go on Nymeria and is going to invalidate her until Darren can place some attachment control. I do remember him saying on the day that he had taken some Maester's chains out of his deck. I think he'd been playing Meister of Starfall, but had taken the Maester of Starfall and the Maester's chain out of his deck. I think I didn't ask Darren on the day, but I think the reasoning behind the Maester of Starfall was potentially to help him deal with the pillage from Gregor, just because he's got quite a number of 4 and 5 cost characters in his deck. But he's taken those out today, so I wonder if he's put some alternative attachment control in his deck. Otherwise, Nymeria is just going to sit there and potentially win him dominance. So, Dan just debating what else he's going to marshal this turn. Still got 4 gold. I think he might have yet another ward in his hand. He's got what looks like an Osha as well. Be quite nice going first to be able to potentially kneel out some of Darren's board. Getting Osha out. Dan nearly not spending enough money. And I think he's going to pass at that point. So, as I was saying in the previous video, we had a good turnout for this day. A whole bunch of the locals couldn't come, and it's a Sunday tournament. But we had a number of people who travelled to see us, as you can see by the videos this time being of other members of the community, aside from the Northampton lot. Quite a competitive crowd. A lot of people had brought regional decks, because it was the weekend before the Reading Regional, so they wanted to do some testing and figure out what their decks did and how effective they were. I unfortunately didn't get to play on the day, as I said, because there was 16 players. We had even numbers, so I sat out so that we didn't have a bye, which is just the way it goes. You can see on the right hand side Dan's house card is one of the house cards we gave out on the day. Really nice. Got a lot of compliments on them, thank you guys. If you want to try and get one, if you just come to the next Northampton event, which will be in September, just rock up, you'll get one. You get to choose one of your choosing as a participation prize. So all you got to do is show up and you get one. And Darren just a bit forlorn about the loss of Nymeria and the fact he won't be able to trigger her. If he doesn't run any attachment control, I hope he maybe runs a march to the wall. Maybe he could march Nymeria and then play another one. But he's a bit of a difficult situation. Triggering against the Winterfell there. And no more actions. Losing a military challenge there. triggering the Boneway. Oh, and killing Nymeria. That suggests to me that he doesn't have marched or confiscation. So he's not got confiscation, meaning he can't get rid of the milk, but he's not got marched either, because now Nymeria is dead. If he does have 2 more copies in the deck, he's potentially going to draw into dead copies of her as this game goes on. That is maybe a little bit of an oversight in the deck building, and one of the reasons it's so good to go to tournaments prior to regionals, just to make sure that any little things that you might have forgotten in your deck, you really get exposed when you sit down to play 4 games of Swiss and then potentially into the cut. I think that's an tainted there on Sansa, so she's just got the power icon. And Darren debating his challenges. I think he's going to do a military for 3 there with the Knights of the Sun. Going to be opposed by the Tumblestone.
Nothing else from me. So any action? Okay.
And what's he going to claim? Killing off that Tumblestone, yeah. Got to kill off the non-unique characters there. Darren just debating the rest of his challenge order. He's got 3 tokens on his Boneway, so he's on his way to claiming the power from that. Darren has no power on his house card to the Stark's 5 power at the minute. So he's going to do an intrigue challenge. That should be unopposed, yep. And claim, what's he going to get? Oh, getting fast Eddie. So nice pull there. So that's the second really nice pull from Darren. And he's going to force through a power challenge with Ariane. And he's going to win it, get his claim, and get his Lords of the Crossing. So now in a situation where they're Stark on 4, Martel's on 3. And interesting board state. Losing that fast Eddie I think has really turned the tide. That fast Eddie would have accelerated the Stark player quite significantly. Obviously vulnerable to Tears and Tyene, but might allow the Stark player to accelerate his game quite significantly. I think we just saw an odd card there in Darren's hand. I think it might have been a Superior Claim, which would be yet another way on top of the Boneway to accelerate this Martel deck even further. Increase that power game, which could be quite interesting to see.
Now I draw 2 more.
Darren playing Counting Coppers and making a little joke saying, I've drawn 3 and I'm going to draw 2 more. Obviously taking the piss out of Dan for the, not the last time, but the time before that. He was on our stream and he accidentally drew 7 cards for his Counting Coppers turn. So he was taking the piss out quite a lot throughout the day. So hopefully he'll never do it again. Dan obviously playing the Wardens of the North plot card. That plot is going to mean that he will be able to jump Arya into a military challenge, despite not having a military icon, so that he can get off ice. So that's going to be quite nice for him. And going to have to see what Darren can do to counter that, and if there is any way for him to counter that. Darren terrified that he showed off a card as he dropped it, but Darren was too distracted to pick up on that information.
I dropped a card, I picked it up in time, but that was face up, so I was like, no!
Oh dear. I was playing a casual game the other night, stupidly put my hand down on the table, half a second later, realised I put my hand down on the table face up, telegraphing to my opponent exactly what I was about to do. So that's a little bit stupid. I do normally try to make sure that when I'm not playing cards specifically, I put my cards face down on the table to ensure you have the least number of opportunities to potentially telegraph plays and also to reveal cards accidentally. Because you can gain a lot of information just by looking at someone's body language. When they're fondling a single card and they've got 2 gold going to a military challenge, or if they're doing an intrigue challenge and they've still got 1 gold, but there's 1 card they keep coming back to or looking at or double checking their hand. Those little tells are quite important, and just by putting your hand down on the table, just leaving them there, remembering what cards you've got, trying to remember your triggers yourself without staring at the cards constantly, you're going to stop giving. You're not going to give away as much information to your opponent. Dan very wisely, I think, playing Ward on the Green Blood Trader, just to whittle down Darren's board state. Also recognizing that Darren probably doesn't have doesn't have any 4-cost characters that he's going to be able to steal, because it's going to be the Plowless Spearman and the Knights of the Sun, so they both know attachments. The 3-cost characters he's going to play, maybe he plays a Kaliot, but that's maybe going to be a one-of, and maybe he plays a Arya Hota, but he's not going to come into play until he's done some significant damage. So just playing that Ward on the Green Blood Trader, whittling down Darren's board. If he can force through a military challenge here, he's going to be able to get off ice and get the military claim, so potentially wiping Darren's board. So I think that Ward's a good play there. Darren going to do an intrigue for 3 with Ariane. Dan's just going to oppose it with Darren's own Green Blood Trader. Oh, and he's going to tears someone? Who's he going to tears? Oh. Obviously that Bran's on the table here, so he's got to consider Bran as a dangerous item. He probably wants to tears Arya, but probably going to sit there. But if he does tears Arya, that ice is just going to go back to hand. So that's not going to be the solution he wants. Obviously he's just going to try and tears Bran, force him off the table. Bran is going to sacrifice himself to cancel the event, so that he's in the discard pile rather than the dead pile. Oh, and claiming another Winter is Coming out of Dan's hand. So that's some very nice pulls by Darren. The cards that would have significantly hampered him in this matchup. And doing a power challenge with the Knights of the Sun. I think Dan just drew the Winterfell off the gates reveal there. So that's going to shut down most of Darren's tricks moving forward. Obviously he can still do Ariane, but his tears, and if he gets tying, they're not going to be as effective anymore, as so long as Dan can get them out. Dan in a really commanding board position here. Committing 2 characters, my assumption is because he's scared of Arya Hota. Dan has played Martel, as you saw in previous videos, quite a lot, so he knows that there's a chance of Arya Hota coming in. If Arya Hota bounces a character out of the challenge, Dan is not going to be able to use Wardens of the North to bounce Arya into the challenge. So what he's going to do is use Osha to ensure that he's gets the character in the challenge, and then I'm assuming going to trigger Wardens of the North to put Arya in.
Can I trigger Arya and not put something in?
Darren very nicely asking if he can trigger Ariane and not put something into play. Unfortunately, the way Ariane is worded, you have to reveal the character, well, to put the character down, then return it to hand. If you cannot put the character down, there's no way for you to return it to hand. Dan gonna bounce Arya into that challenge with Wardens of the North, and Darren is going to use Gaston Grey. Luckily he was first player, going to use Gaston Grey to bounce Arya, so that buys him a turn. Unfortunately this means when Arya comes back into play, she's going to get that military icon back, potentially get ice again, and going to be a lot easier to get that trigger off. And Dan just going to do an intrigue challenge with Osha. losing that Nymeria has significantly hampered Darren. He's not been able to get the board presence down. He's not been able to control the challenges that he's needed to. And while he may be on 5 power, 4 power now to the Stark 6, is he going to forget to trigger the Boneway? Yeah, he forgot to trigger the Boneway. If he triggered the Boneway there, he would have been able to then use the Boneway in dominance to get himself some more power. So there's unfortunately a mistrigger. We've seen a couple so far. This was quite a crucial one though. And Dan realising he has to discard down, discarding a Jon Snow, which is an interesting choice. Probably doesn't have the fuel there to trigger it at the minute. He could obviously use Jon Snow to discard the Green Blood Trader because it gains the Stark affiliation, but my assumption is going to play Marched here. Oh, no, playing Fallen for Favour. It does a similar sort of thing, gives him a lot more gold, and but it allows him to trigger the Fallen from Favour to get rid of the character he stole. It doesn't have high enough initiative to beat Marched. But what it does do is it allows him to beat, has high enough initiative to beat Confiscation. So does a very similar sort of thing, while also playing into the Fat Cat strategy that we've seen obviously in his discard pile, unfortunately. I think if we'd seen her out on the table, Stark player would have had a significant amount more power by this point, and would have just used her to defend. Darren using building orders to just get a Blood Orange Grove, but my assumption is he was hunting for another Gaston Grey, wanting that Gaston Grey in case Arya comes back down onto the table.
I just didn't have. I had a couple of things that might have been good if I was the first.
Oh yeah, just saying that there was a couple of things that it would have been good if he wasn't first player. My assumption is that he'd found a milk maybe, and if he hadn't been first, he would have been able to milk Arya after she came out onto the table. But being first player, he's slightly limited on what he can do. With only 4 gold, 5 with the reduction, 6 with 2 reducing locations, not sure what he's going to get out this turn that's going to really let him get the broad presence here. He does still have a fistful of cards, so he does have options there. It's just about which one he chooses to take. Down in a good position, however, with only 3 characters out, and with Sansa being a tainted, he's in a dangerous position himself. It won't take much for Darren to begin to overwhelm him. With only 3 characters, he might be able to get off a Vengeance for Elia. So I kept wanting to call it Red Vengeance, to be able to get off a Vengeance for Elia and get off a Vengeance for Elia and swing the tide of this battle. And Darren getting another Gaston, which is exactly what he needed as first player there, in case Arya comes back onto the table. He has got 3 characters out. He's got a Reducer, he's got Kaliat, and he's got Ariane. We're going to see a duped Winterfell. So, and he's going to get Arya out. Her getting a dupe back. He does mean it looks like he's only got 2 gold. So by getting that Winterfell out and stopping Darren's tricks, he has prevented himself from getting Ice back out onto the table, which maybe was the right call. Darren has saved the gold, so it'll stop him from doing, say, Tears, but the Tears isn't going to do a huge amount for him right now. I think Dan could afford to leave the Winterfell for a turn, get out Ice, and use that Ice on Arya to force through another high claim challenge phase. Darren missing the icons to be able to get his Laws of the Crossing. He hasn't got a military icon, but what he does have is he does have Caveat, so if he loses this challenge, he can get a Boneway trigger and can take an icon. Really puts your opponent in a dilemma there. Dan going to oppose with Sansa. And going to take Arya's power icon. And getting that Boneway trigger, remembering it this time. Which puts him on the 6 tokens that he's going to need to get some more power. I think Boneway is a difficult one to remember when there's lots of triggers firing off. But really important because those tokens can be very impactful. Then doing a power challenge with Arianne. Oh no, must be an in? Yeah, intrigue challenge with Arianne. Triggering that Winterfell to prevent the tears. Oh! Oh my god, and Darren pulling Fast Steady yet again out of Dan's hand. Just like taunting him every time he gets close to being able to play that big character that he needs to close this game out. Just ripping it away from him. Oh dear me, Dan in a difficult position here. Hand being decimated of good characters. Obviously still got that ice, and Darren would have preferred to pull the ice, but getting rid of Fast Steady is really going to help him stay in this game. Returning the intrigue challenge with Ocean, which is going to go unopposed. Oh, going to take that milk, which I think in this next round would have been Darren's lifeline to milk Arya if he obviously if Dan puts ice on her. Dan, interesting doing military with Arya and Summer, stealthing the reducer, the little chud on the end there. Not entirely sure why he used both. Would have had a chance of winning Dom if he hadn't. And just doing a power challenge with the Tumblestone Knight. And Darren now has lots of Boneway tokens, making sure he remembers those triggers now, after forgetting that one earlier. Darren wins Dom, and is trading out those Boneway tokens for some power. So on 6, he was on 9, so trading out 6 for 3 more power, and has got 3 on there already, so he's going to be able to trigger those again. While his board state might not be in the best of situations, he is at a point where if he can keep eking out power challenges, he might be able to win this game. Sat there on 8 power, 2 Starks. Unfortunately, Dan has stacked them up, so I can't see them very clearly. He's on there on, he might be on 10, 8 or 10. Dan playing a confiscation, probably getting rid of that Attated on Sansa. Darren playing a Wildfire. So Dan is going to have to choose what he gets rid of, unfortunately. What is Dan going to kill? Killing Summer and the Tumblestone Knight. Yeah. The other characters he's got out, while not huge themselves, are far better. They've got more icons, more versatile than the ones he got rid of. Give him more choices moving forward. This has been an interesting game. Game of kind of small characters, of not huge impactful challenges, but just kind of eking out wins here and there. So we'll see if Dan gets this ice out this turn. See if Darren could get enough out to recover. Getting out a Bastard Daughter. So you're going to be able to take cards out of Dan's hand if he has to kill her for a military claim. but probably wants to keep her around. Probably doesn't want to lose that icon. Probably wants to use her to trigger his Lords of the Crossing military challenge. Still only 3 characters out on the board. Darren getting 5 gold, putting in a Rose Road, using Fealty, paying out Ice, paying Rickon, playing Shaggy Dog. So Rickon has now got a military icon because of Shaggy Dog, so he's got some icons there. Dan managed to recover from that wildfire very nicely. Darren really struggling for characters in this game, really not pulling the characters he needs. And this ice on the table might really scupper his plans. Let's see what happens. If he might have drawn something that he means he can bounce Ariad out. Hopefully an Area Hota. If he gets Area Hota, he can bounce Aya out of the challenge, nullifier for yet another turn. Yet still don't know what his long-term solution is going to be. So Darren just checking if Dan had any gold. Doing an intrigue challenge with Ariane. Debating whether he wants to defend. It is going to mean it would let it go, stop it from being unopposed, but it means he's not going to be able to return with his own intrigue challenge. So he's going to let it go unopposed, just so Darren gets the unopposed power. Darren has no cards in hand, so there's no claim. So he was literally just debating that there whether he wanted to stop Darren getting that unopposed challenge. Going to do a tiny little power challenge with his Desert Scavenger. Darren debating what he's going to, if there's anything he can try to defend that with. The only thing he's got to defend that is a Arya. Not really what he wants to be doing at all. Ooh, defends with Arya. I think he recognises that getting that ice off with the kind of small characters on Darren's board at the minute aren't going to be significantly impactful, but preventing him from getting power is going to be quite important because he's sat there on 9 power and 4 tokens on the Boneway. I'm doing a military challenge with the Bastard Daughter, just defending that with Shaggy Dog. He did have Arahota to remove Shaggy Dog from the challenge, so we can win that military challenge, which means Dan's going to have to play kill a character. I possibly would have been tempted to hold on to Arahota for next round when I might try and win that challenge with the military icon and use ice. Little issue here. Obviously, Summer has been played on the board by Dan. I'm pretty sure Summer went to the dead pile from the wildfire. I'm pretty sure it was Summer and the Templestone Knight that were killed for wildfire. So probably shouldn't be able to play Summer out again, unless maybe I'm missing something here. I think maybe the maybe he saved Summer, Osha, and Arya. That might make sense. Killing Sansa, she's probably low enough strength by that point that she didn't really matter. I will go back and check the video, and I'll put a little annotation in when I'm editing it. Sorry about that, guys. Darren just looking through the plots, debating what's going to be coming up next. Maybe, I think when he's looking at it, he's on 11 power. Probably thinking next turn he maybe wants to trigger, maybe he's got an Doran's, sorry, when he's probably got Doran's game, not in Doran's name, Doran's game, that might be good for him. Ooh, losing a superior claim. seeing Darren's on 5 tokens, so gonna stop doing any other challenges, because what he doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to give Darren that 6th token. Dan needs 4 more to win, so he's on 11, and Darren's on 12. Potentially, if he loses 1 challenge, he can claim 3 power from the Boneway. So all he has to do is lose a challenge and get to dominance in this next phase, and he could win. But it's a question of whether Dan can close it out first.
What's going on? I did show you.
Moving into the next plot phase, I think this is going to be the end of the game, one way or another. I don't think Darren can get 3 power in the challenges phase with his current board state. Dan, can he get 4? If he does the military challenge first, stealthing area Hota, kills 2 characters, he can then get 3. So if he kills the desert scavenger, the bastard daughter dies, he can then get an intrigue and a power, that's 3 claim. I don't think he can win this turn, unfortunately, because obviously the bastard daughter will oppose the military challenge. The military challenge will be opposed. Darren playing Forgotten Plans, by the looks of it, into calling the banners. So not going to do anything for him this game. Obviously playing it because First Snow does hurt his deck. But I think First Snow hurts everyone right now, unfortunately. And drawing their cards. Moving to this final round of the game. Going to get quite tense here, debating best plays and what's going to happen. Darren has gone first, by the looks of it, wanting to get through his challenges before he loses his characters to Ariane and Ice. Arya and Ice. Getting Ariane out onto the table. Does he have another superior claim in hand? If he does have another superior claim in hand, that would swing the balance of this game. Using Fealty to get Hodor out. Hodor's only going to defend, he can't attack because there's no brown on the table, but he's going to be able to defend quite significantly. Gives Dan another big power icon. Well, not big, but big considering the current board state.
I've done this very wrong.
Darren can't get off his 3 challenges because he's not... he can, technically, but he can't get off the power. And unfortunately seems to have done something wrong. Slightly forlornly staring at his hand there, looking at the board state. We can see a duplicate of Ariane there in his hand. And Darren consoling himself with some sweets. What else can we see there? Potentially a House-Stained Knight. If it's a House-Stained Knight, that would have given him another intrigue icon, give him a few more options for the challenges. How can Darren win this? If he does... I'm not sure, we'll see how he plays it out. I think them both being kind of that little bit further away than easily getting to the finish line. Obviously with Darren on 12 to Dan's 11. Going second in this position does help you, because if the first player overextends themselves, they can potentially lose on the return volley. I think Darren potentially just has to defend a bit here, try and get through to the next turn. But he's going to attack with military using Area Hota. Dan can win that on defense, but does he care? Interesting. Going to trigger Ariane to put a duplicate of Ariane onto the table. Not sure why he did that. Dan losing the military challenge on defense means he's going to trigger ice. So putting that dupe of Ariane there so that she's safe. Tan just getting rid of little Chud there. Interesting little choice there, but gets rid of one of Darren's power icons. So now Darren only has one intrigue power bicon, which means he's not going to get off his Lords of the Crossing trigger this turn, which is probably what Dan was thinking there. Not killing the Chud because he actually cares about the Chud, but killing it because he wants to get rid of that icon to prevent the Lords of the Crossing. Darren has now got the 6 counters he needs on the Boneway. If he can last to Dom. Darren is vocally saying that at Dom he gains the 3 power he needs to win, but he needs to leave those characters standing. Darren just saying he thinks he could have won if he'd played the House Day Nailed out of his hand. And we're going to see what tricks Dan has got in his turn. Doing a military challenge, I think. Yeah, playing Winter is Coming. Oh no, using Grey Wind to chomp the Chud. Discarding a Winter is Coming. Doing a military challenge. Oh, very nice. So getting the unopposed military that he's going to need to swing this. Darren is going to trigger the Boneway. Is he going to trigger? Darren is going to trigger the Gust and Grey. Not sure how impactful that is. And going to kill Arya Hota. Leave that dupe on Ariane. And Dan realising there's no way he can get it through. He couldn't get through the challenges he needed to get those last couple of power, unfortunately. And Darren winning using the Boneway. So we see the Boneway there do some serious work despite being behind on board presence for most of the game. Some really lucky pulls out of Dan's hand, getting rid of Fast Eddie twice there, getting rid of the Winter is Coming. Really kept Darren in the game, and the Boneway won it for him. So well done, Darren. So guys, if you've got any comments for the players, please leave them below. Keep them friendly, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.